Hello, welcome back to the Educate Ebony podcast. I'm your host, Ebony, and we're about to kick off episode 1 of season 2, the Prog Edition. If you listened in last season for the Metal Edition, thank you so much. And if you're new here, welcome. This is a podcast where I try to expand my music knowledge by talking to a wide range of people in the music industry and ask them the question, what is the one album that I need to hear? This season, it's all about prog rock, prog metal, anything prog really. And I think throughout each episode, you'll really see that prog can be understood in many different ways. If you do want to see what else is going on, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Educate Ebony. None of that TikTok, I'm not ready for that yet. So come and say hi. And if you feel like giving this podcast a rating, if you like it or if you don't, you do you. That'd be great though. Okay, I think that's enough from me. Let's kick this off. Just a heads up, I fangirled super hard for this whole interview. All right, well, we are kicking off season 2 of Educate Ebony with a huge guest. He was the very first person I wrote down when I was writing my list of ideal guests for the Prog Edition sometime last year, and it's finally happening. So I would love to introduce Ian Kenny. We, of course, know him from Karnivool and Birds of Tokyo fame, being an incredible vocalist and a captivating frontman with almost hypnotic dance moves. And now you get to know him even more as he educates us on the one prog album we all need to hear. So Kenny, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Wow, what an intro. That was unreal. I love it.
I prepped it weeks in advance, so.
It was amazing. It's amazing.
No, it is true though, especially in the Karnivool live stream last year. I don't know why, but your dance moves, they're not really moves, they're like, you just groove, but it's just, I could watch you for days.
Yes, it's some sort of dancing, isn't it? I think it's just, it's interpreting what the band feels like. I think when you're on stage with, a band like Karnivool, the way that band sort of moves sonically, it actually physically moves you. It's very reactive stuff. And yeah, so I think I do that. I think that's what I do.
We like it. Keep it up. It's good.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah, well, with this season being, I guess, all about every single facet of prog, and I'm aware it can be a broad genre with like many different understandings. What is prog to you?
I think prog to me it's just, something slightly outside the box that's progressive in its nature. I mean, I've always aligned alternative heavier music with prog. I think it's my interest is somewhere in the middle of those two. So prog is just progressive stuff and stuff that's just, like I said, just outside the box. It's not so straight up and down. It's deliberately a lot more. There's a lot more, in it, I think, in prog music. A lot of layers to it.
Yeah, a lot more going on. You really have to dissect it to see everything, hear everything.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, totally. And so it's funny. I actually, outside a handful of bands, I don't really know how much of a prog dude I am because I listen to so much other stuff. But I can tell you that prog, it's left a mark on me. My experience in prog and what it means to me, it's left a wonderful mark on me.
Oh, well, let's get stuck into it. What is the one prog album that I need to hear?
So this is one of my faves. It's actually the reason why we can talk about it. It was just so influential when it hit me. And that would be Super Unknown by Soundgarden. And I'm kind of glad that no one else has done this in your, world here. I thought maybe if I'm the first, great. If it comes up again, cool. But it's an album that came out in 94. I don't think I actually got to it until 96. I think the stuff I was listening to at that time aligned with Super Unknown and Soundgarden. I'm a massive fan of what this band does. And Super Unknown at the time, man, back then I hadn't heard anything like it. I didn't know you could do that sort of thing outside just straight up sort of alternate rock or alternate metal. These guys just hit me in a certain way, and I just heard something very different for me in this record.
This album is 28 years old, and I only know that because I was born in 93. So, where were you when you first heard it? You were young? Were you starting a musical career, or where was it for you?
So, what's 94? This came out. So, 90. I don't think I heard this till 90, 96, 97. I got to it a bit late, so I was probably just graduating, I think. See, at the time, I must have just graduated. At that time, in end of high school, we should just make these bands each week. And honestly, the guys I used to play with in high school would make bands they'd last about 8 days and then they'd fold because they just do at that time. You don't know what you're doing or they don't work. And then we start another one with different players. And we just did that for the last 2 years of high school, just making and breaking these bands. And towards the end of that, you know, graduating, and then I played with Drew in Vool already because he and I went to school together and I went to school with his brother. So we were kind of listening to the same things getting out of high school. And, you know, after that, a few years after that, Karnivool sort of, the infancy of all that began. So Super Unknown, that was pretty influential, I think, to what my idea, my understanding of what prog could be.
So what parts of this album, I guess, really caught your attention? What makes it so great that you were like, oh, I love that guitar riff, or I love what they're doing with this transition or something?
Oh, there's many parts of it. A lot of it is it's in the playing. I mean, Chris Cornell as a vocalist, just as a singer-songwriter, he's incredible. Killer voice, killer melodies, and you know, can clearly write amazing music. So of course melodically I always hear that first, but I mean it's just probably aligned with what I do, but that struck me immediately. And then just listening to the playing, I mean Matt Cameron's playing as a drummer is unreal, and what that rhythm section there with Ben Shepherd, when they're together, what they sort of produce as a rhythm section, it's just unreal, especially what's happening above it with the two guitar parts, and of course Cornell's vocal. And Kim Thal's just guitar playing, like his choice of direction and his choice of notes and his sound, like he's so, a lot of it is just unusual choices of guitar work. Just Cornell, they're the two very different players. I think Cornell kind of had a bit more meat on the bone because he was probably more hands-on in the actual design of most of the songs on the record. But you got Kim Thal there just doing his thing, and it's kind of off to, it's always a little bit off to the left or off to center, sort of as in its approach, but it's wicked. There's something really unique about that dude's playing. I've never been able to put my finger on it, but that's probably why I find it so attractive.
Yeah, even now, many years down the track, you're still like, this is the one, 100%.
Absolutely. And like I was saying before, when you talk about prog, I think you're just talking about pushing the envelope a bit in what can you do with this piece of music? What can you do with the design of this piece of music? And a lot of the stuff on Super Unknown, like it's so not just straight time. They play over bars, they add extra feel sections on the end of things that you probably wouldn't, but they do, and they do it. It's designed so well. The playing on that, even now, I listen to it, I'm like, God damn it! Like the writing on this record is killer, like killer, and it still sounds good. Like it's 28 years old.
Yeah,
man, it sounds real good.
It's interesting that like you know, quite a few older albums still sound good, or like people are saying that, you know, the production or the mixing and mastering is still like top notch today, which is really cool because we have such different technology and different ways of doing things as well. So I don't know, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, 10 out of 10, especially. I mean, but this was probably one of those records. What are we talking, like mid 90s, 94 is when it was done. Like when you're talking about alternate rock or prog or grunge or whatever, that those bands who sort of had it together and either had the budget or just sort of had their foot in things there, they were making great sounding records, like the producers at the time. And like that was just a bit of a golden era for that sort of stuff.
That's true. Yes. Obviously this album became pretty important to you pretty quickly. Was there like a period where, I don't know, I find for me as well, like, you know, you forget about music from your teenage years and then it comes back, you know, a decade later, you're like, oh, I can't believe I forgot about this. It is still so great. Did you ever have like a period like that, or it was always, this is the, not that this is the goal, but like, we like this, I like this, let's keep that up there on the pedestal to reach towards?
Yeah, I think I've been listening to this record on and off ever since it sort of hit me, and I keep finding it. It keeps coming round again. There's a lot in it that I reference, I think, sometimes when I'm trying to find stuff in my own music, when I'm trying to figure things out, or just, yeah, it's a pretty important record to me. It's funny, even now I'm probably just getting the gravity of it, like when just sort of graduating and deciding about, you know, how am I going to do this music thing? There was a handful of records, this being one of them, where I was just like, it's been a bit of a a staple for me just to sort of get back to and revisit and re-find a lot. So you now still listen to it. Like it still keeps coming up.
Yeah. I think it's especially the prog genre and these types of albums, you know, if you take, for example, maybe pop or something along those lines, they might age a little bit just because of the style of the lyrics or whatever else is going on there. But I do feel like prog can be timeless. Like you think about 70s prog and where it first all kicked off, you can still listen to it today and be like, people don't make that kind of music anymore, and it just could flow on forever, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. And then some things like that have that effect, they just won't be they won't be made again. And it's funny, we talk about prog as a thing. When I first heard this record, I don't think I was that aware. I think I was just initially being hit by this piece of music. I was like, God, this is making me feel a certain way. It's awesome. What is this? I don't think I actually, after really sitting with the record for a long time and sort of being affected by it, I didn't understand how progressive this record is. Like, it is so not your up and down rock record. Like Super Unknown, the writing, as I've been talking about on this, the actual songs on this thing and the design of what's gone into it, it's incredible. And the playing, again, Matt Cameron, can't talk about him enough as a drummer. Like, it's just out of control good. And songs like, Black Hole Sun and Spoon Man, even though Spoon Man's not my favorite, as in, I love the record, but Black Hole Sun and Super Unknown, the title track is off its head good. The actual playing in it it's wild. It's so good.
So when you hear a record like this and you're like, this is incredible, and you want to know more about it, do you study the record? Do you like listen to it a lot? Or is there like someone you could talk to who knows more about music at the time and you're like, tell me what they're doing here. I need to know what's going on. Or like, how do you, I don't know, for me, I guess, I've got the internet nowadays, but back in 96, it wasn't overly prevalent. What did you do?
We basically, we shared around by talking about it. And funny enough, we played through it. We would work out. Basically, they become, to a point, they became study pieces where you'd go in and try and play it, like, and try, like a lot of it was pretty demanding stuff. Like, I'm not a good guitarist, but enough I could kind of figure out basically how or why the song moved the way it did by messing around on guitar, and of course studying Chris Cornell's vocal stuff is just awesome. And in the Karnivool camp, that was kicked around a lot. I mean, Jono, if I can speak for him, I'm pretty sure he got his head around a lot of that too by just figuring out the language in the playing. John plays bass, but he's actually a very good guitarist and pianist. And Drew, of course, playing guitar, just sort of figuring out all those things out. So we just sort of basically hacked at it and tried to figure it out. But try being the word there. It's pretty demanding record. It's pretty full on.
No, that's cool. Well, you obviously know it super, super well. Is there an aspect of this album that you really love that maybe the first time listener, myself, would overlook?
I mean, the front of the record is kind of loaded with maybe a bit more accessible stuff. I mean, Fell on Black Days kind of is. Black Hole Sun was kind of that pin-up song for the record, and Spoon Man again. So it moves very well as a listen, but there's something about the 2/3 mark at the back end. It sort of just changes color a bit. It gets a little bit darker and grungier, or almost, which it probably makes sense. As a progressive record, it was definitely coming out of that time. This is a band that came out of Seattle and very much out of that grunge scene with all those bands, which kind of makes this record for me even more special because it really smashed the mold on any of that. But the back half's it's just a different listen. It's cool.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And this is probably my favorite question, carrying on from last season as well. But what are my listening notes? Like, how should I listen to this album? Should I be doing something in a certain mind frame or place?
Good question. Anywhere, I would say, is pretty good. Just not your laptop, because they suck. Really good. It's a really good headphone listen. I wouldn't say it's background sort of stuff. I would say it's a really good headphone listen. If you're in the car. In the car is real good. I do some of my best listening in the car. It's like your brain has time to listen to this, but it's also on enough to not crash and to kill anyone, like
Yeah.
it's like yeah, but really it's a really good little close environment. So cars are good if your stereo is good, but yeah, only because there's so much in this record, the nuances in this record, I kind of nerd out on, I would say headphones.
Okay.
And take it from there. Yeah.
I like that. Cool. All right. Is there anything else you want to add about this album that we should know?
No, just check it out and then have a listen and then just do a little bit of thinking about it. I mean, that it was probably supposed, Soundgarden were never going to be that straight up grunge band, but they were lumped in with, the Alice in Chains group and the Pearl Jams and all that sort of stuff. Not so much the Nirvana thing. They were doing a different type of rock, but the fact that this record is so progressive for that time, that's the magic in it. It's awesome. Yeah.
I'm ready to listen to it. Chuck it on. First album of the season. Yeah.
Love it.
I'm excited. Amazing. There we have it. The one prog album that Ian Kenny thinks that you and I should listen to is Soundgarden's Super Unknown. Kenny, thank you so much for your wisdom. I can't wait to listen to it from your point of view.
Oh, pleasure. It's always good to talk to you. So thanks for your time too.
I'm so excited to have you back for our second season. It's just me. Jesus Christ. And if you feel like giving this podcast a rating, look, that'd be pretty cool too. Oh, it sounded so fake. If you listened in last season for the Metal Edition, thank you so much. And if you're here, you're here. And if you're new here, welcome.